Well, so much for all the talk of healing in Washington and the peaceful transition of power.
President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration is only 1 week away, but some prominent Democratic lawmakers are planning to just sit it out. Obamacare and FBI Director James Comey are at the center of new political tensions.
That's right, KCON9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with the very latest on this busy Friday.
Like every day this week, plenty of action again today, and a big difference in the mood of the two parties. You can really see that difference. While Republicans were going about the business of destroying President Obama's signature achievement at the Capitol, the anger and frustration of Democrats boiled over in two directions: a contentious showdown with the FBI director and a boycott by some, including two California representatives, of next week's inauguration.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
With civil rights icon and Democratic Congressman John Lewis leading the way, a small group of Democrats are boycotting the inauguration of Donald Trump next week.
I think the Russians participated in helping this man get elected, and they helped destroy the candidacy of Hillary Clinton.
And Lewis is not alone. At least 7 other Democrats are joining the boycott, including 2 from California. Representative Barbara Lee from Alameda, who's quoted as saying she wouldn't endorse a president defined by racism, sexism, xenophobia, and bigotry. And Congressman Jared Huffman from San Rafael. Arizona Representative Raul Grijalva will be sitting this one out as well.
I will be at home in Arizona.
Dana Point Congressman Darrell Issa told CNN he believes Representative Lewis will regret his claim that Donald Trump is not a legitimate president.
John's a good man, and I think he will in time feel that he used his words poorly. I think in time he will change his position to find ways to work with this president. But I can understand his grief and his pain. He fully expected Hillary Clinton to win.
Other Democrats were confronting FBI Director James Comey in a loud and bitter closed-door meeting about Russian cyber attacks on Hillary Clinton and the DNC during the campaign.
It's classified and we can't tell you anything. All I can tell you is the FBI Director has no credibility.
South LA Representative Maxine Waters and other Democrats stormed out of the meeting, charging that Comey wasn't giving them answers.
My confidence in the FBI Director's ability to lead this agency has been shaken.
The briefing for all members of the House was confidential, but witnesses say things got heated when former DNC chair Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz confronted Comey, saying, "I was the chair. Why didn't you call me?" when it was discovered that the DNC servers may have been breached by the Russians. After dodging the question, Comey admitted, "No, we didn't," according to people who were inside the meeting. Minnesota Congressman Tim Walz told CNN things got tense.
I think the frustration started to brew in there when very pointed, very direct, and should have been, in my opinion, very simple questions to answer, keeping with accepted protocol, weren't happening. But this is critical. This goes at the heart of our democracy, and when the director of the FBI can't answer those questions, it does shake our confidence.
Even the Wall Street Journal editorial board wrote about Comey, "The best service Mr. Comey can render his country now is to resign," declaring that he's too political for a position that's supposed to be apolitical. In a November interview with CBS 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl, President-elect Trump dodged the question about Comey's future.
FBI Director James Comey, are you going to ask for his resignation?
I think that I would rather not comment on that yet. I haven't made up my mind.
And while the Democrats were angry and frustrated, the Republicans are moving full speed ahead to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, taking another key vote in the House to move the process forward. With no Democratic votes in favor, Republicans passed a budget resolution that clears the way for GOP-dominated committees to begin work on legislation to repeal parts of Obamacare with or without the Democrats.
This is a critical first step toward delivering relief to Americans who are struggling under this law.
Now, cheering the House Republicans on, President-elect Trump tweeted about how the Unaffordable Care Act, as he called it, will soon be history. On Monday, Trump is expected to be in Washington as the countdown to his inauguration winds down to the last few days. Jeff.